Welcome back, all my beautiful, loyal patriots and nationalists of Ireland and abroad. We have another brand new political reaction, another news talk media reaction. This one today is called Can We Make Dublin City Safer by News Talk, the propaganda specialists. Now, this one obviously comes after the breaking news of South Ann Street stabbing victim, whose name is Kwame Babatunde, 34-year-old. Really sad news, guys. To hear that another guy was stabbed. A lot of stabbings recently. I heard recently as well that a gang just got convicted, 5 guys in Dublin, for brandishing rat on a guy's stomach and torturing this guy in a house. Sort of gang-related stuff. Not sure if this was gang-related or anything like that, but we're about to delve into it, guys. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Super sad. I actually saw the video on Twitter, on X, and he was kind of, laid out, after the stabbing. Very sad. Definitely, Dublin is not very safe. I never thought Dublin was ever safe, personally. But, now that the crime is kind of spreading out further from Dublin, it's getting quite worrisome. So, let me know your thoughts, guys. And let's hear what Pat Kenny and his friends have to say.
Minister for Justice Jim O'Callaghan has said the Gardaí were making good progress to identify the people involved in a fight that led to the fatal stabbing of a man in Dublin at the weekend. The man, who's aged in his 30s, has been named locally as Kwame Babatunde. He was found unresponsive with serious injuries by Gardaí after the emergency services were called to South Ann Street in Dublin. The stabbing has resulted in concerns over the safety in the capital city, with calls once again for an increased Garda presence.
First of all, it was a really bad week for us when it comes to stabbings in our city. I think a lot of us looked on absolutely horrified. Our streets are something coming up to the general election. I would have heard people saying they felt unsafe in our city, and unfortunately, the 2 acts that we saw in recent weeks really sort of compounded that, and we have a lot of work to do in terms of getting our city safe for people coming in, and also for businesses who are working in the city, people trying to make a living, who own the businesses, and especially have a lot of sympathy for those going to work every day. But I love my city, and I know we have a lot of work to do in our city, and I don't want people not to come to our city. I just think we need to ensure that we have adequate policing on our streets. And I'd like to see minimum mandatory sentencing for crimes, serious crimes like knife crimes. And I know
that's a good point. I think that if you brandish a knife or a gun or anything, you should be sentenced for life to prison. I don't think you should get out, guys. There should be super strict crime, like in El Salvador. Just if you're any member of a gang or any sort of knife stuff, completely, you're rolled up, guys. That's it. You're done forever. But when she says everybody loves the beautiful city of Dublin, of course, Dublin is the capital city of Ireland. Who wouldn't love Dublin? You have to love that city. I'm from the West, obviously, but everyone loves Dublin. I love Dublin. It's beautiful, vagrant, beautiful, vibrant city. Beautiful people, accents, way different culture. It's almost like going to a different country. If you guys have gone anywhere else, to Cork, Donegal, Galway, Sligo, Mayo, Roscommon, all these places are way different than Dublin. Way different than Dublin. Dublin's like its own country, But yeah, definitely I agree with her on that one.
Jim O'Callaghan is only a month in the job, and he has, he's massively, hugely committed to ensuring that we see the progress when it comes to the Gardaí visible on our streets. And I'm very confident that
now,
see that.
Within the legal profession, whether they are judges or barristers or solicitors, they tend to resist the idea of mandatory sentencing. They like judges to have discretion. So I don't know where Jim O'Callaghan stands on the whole thing of mandatory sentences, but
mandatory sentencing isn't a new thing. We have mandatory sentencing when it comes to drug crimes.
Yeah.
I think the situation in our city has become so serious that I think it's right, Pat, if you think it's okay to carry a knife in our city, I think it's right for you to have 2 years of a custodial sentence for carrying a knife.
2 years? That's nothing. I'm talking about 50 years. Because, that's not gonna totally put somebody off. 2 years, that's nothing. Jesus, you'll be out before Christmas. I'm talking about 50 years, guys, in a hard, the flipping desert, make a deal with flipping the Middle East, as that other famous YouTuber says, and flipping put them out into the desert. This is serious crime, man. This is serious. People are dying. People have died. This is awful stuff, man. And it's happening quite frequently now. I think it was 6 deaths in 6 weeks. 6 murders. When I say death, it's an accident or something. This was 6 murders in 6 weeks. at least. It's unbelievable.
Now, obviously, there are some people who might carry a knife for their profession. A chef might carry a set of knives rather than leave them where they might be pilfered.
This is intellectually dishonest and disingenuous. We're not talking about chefs. Like, dude, we know the difference between a sushi knife and a flippin', machete, a flippin' Rambo's flippin', knife. Come on, lads, that's crazy.
Well, in a restaurant.
Part of the proofs when you're going down the minimum mandatory sentencing is like carrying a knife, and like the prosecution would establish a purpose that you're carrying it with intent to cause harm to an individual. We saw at the weekend that a man was murdered on our main thoroughfare. It's absolutely shocking.
The circumstances obviously are not in 100%.
Pat Kenny is completely clueless. Like in the US and in Prague and Switzerland, you're allowed to carry knives, guns, I suppose. That should be. I would also change those laws. We can arm ourselves, but only for the case of protection. If you guys saw the video, the guy was running around the street with this kitchen knife. It was just insane. It was just insane. So yeah, definitely if you're a flipping chef, that's obviously grand. But if you run around with this flipping sort of machete, this crazy stuff, I mean, it's just this should be 50 years in jail. This is crazy stuff. You intend to harm people even longer.
Clear at the moment, but it does appear that Mr. Babatunde was not involved in any of the prequel to all of this, where a fight broke out between different gangs.
Oh, wow.
He was then stabbed. Whether this was racially motivated, we have yet to ascertain. And then they returned to him again and they stabbed him in the chest, or one individual stabbed him in the chest. And when the man is lying on the ground, they kick him. I mean, this is behaviour that is utterly abhorrent and deserves the highest sanction.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's absolutely disgusting.
Richard, you represent businesses in Dublin town trying to get people to come in to do their shopping, to recreate and so on. It's one incident, but it is such a telling incident that people are going to say, why should I go there? Why don't I go to a suburban shopping mall where I'll be safe?
Look, it's obviously very shocking, and all the sentiments that have been expressed I absolutely concur with. I suppose we've had issues around perceptions of safety in the city and people not feeling safe for quite some time. We did make progress between 2012 and 2016 where things, where perceptions were improving and feedback was improving, but it's gone in reverse. And I think at this point, the business community just wants solutions. The Taoiseach's task force report is a very good report. I was on the task force myself. I think the underlying reasons are all detailed in there, and the solutions, and I think we need to get on with it now. We know what the solutions are, and I think it's time to roll up our sleeves and get on with it.
Well, in summary, what are the key solutions?
Well, I think there's quite a few. Obviously, we need to be more progressive in terms of how we deal with our vulnerable populations. I think there's a huge over-concentration of emergency services within Dublin city centre. We do need the additional Gardaí. We accept is going to take time to recruit those. I think we can look at the community safety warden programme for having a uniform presence, increasing a uniform presence on the street and providing some civic reassurance. There's issues around lighting. There's issues around what's called CEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. I think how we design the city could be improved. We need to look at dereliction. We need to look at there is a transition, for example, office, there's a change in office use, etc. So we will have vacant properties. They can be a drag on the city. I think we need to look at meanwhile use where they're brought into a temporary use. Same when we've got a large development space that's going through planning processes, etc. Utilising those spaces, having light and activity on the street. All of these things,
But you said at the beginning, all of these things will take time. But if I want to go into, or you want me to go into shop in Dublin city centre next week, what should happen right now?
They will take time, but I think, there's no time like present for actually resolving some of those issues. I think
this is all just BS, bullshit. Okay, you need to have guards with guns. Okay, no notebooks and stuff, just guns and handcuffs. Okay, like the Wild West, you either come dead or alive. If you guys go to Eastern Europe, Prague, Poland, any of these places that I'm fond of visiting, okay, family, etc., the police don't have booklets and batons. They don't have any of this stuff, like any of this pepper spray. They might have that, but they don't have that. They have a gun, handgun, and they have handcuffs. So either you come dead or alive. It needs to be like that. It needs to be very savage. The Gardaí needs to be very okay, either you come with us or that's it, and there should have been Gardaí everywhere on the streets. in Dublin, and they get a hard time. I support the Gardaí a lot when they're doing their job, like they're arresting people with knives and stuff like that. You know, obviously some laws are archaic and, you know, whatever, the tax, you know, they always make fun of the tax and the insurance. Okay, I get it, guys, tax collectors, I understand, but there needs to be people with guns to, you know, curtail people with knives running around the street. I mean, it's just plain and simple. It's just crazy stuff, guys. I don't understand how the hell this is allowed. I mean, remember that guy, because, you know, people don't want to make this a racial thing. Remember that guy, the American lad that got beaten up by two guys from Dublin, white guys, all right? He got beaten up as well. He flipping nearly died or whatever. He did die, whatever. And then those two guys got like years and years in jail. Like any sort of crime, doesn't matter, you know, where you're from or anything, it should be completely curtailed. I mean, this sort of crime is just insane. Like, you know, you're trying to kill people with knives, and you're trying to, you know, like I said, the gangs that branded rat on this guy's stomach. It's just like, it's just insane, man. It's just like a free for all. It's the most insane shit I've ever heard in my life.
Look, in terms of the civic reassurance, you know, that's obviously a very important piece. You know, after the riots, we did have an increased Garda presence in the city centre, and that did reassure people. And we actually had quite a good Christmas in December of 2023. I think we can look at, again, at, you know, just how we have implemented things in the past. And, you know, yes, some of them are going to take longer, but then there's others that will take less time. And I think, you know, some of the on-street activations can certainly help. I think we do need to look at, you know, the whole integrated nature of the city, and I think that can't be delayed. But I think, you know, in terms of
what do you mean by
short-term,
that, the integrated nature?
well, I think, you know, look, as I say, in terms of the vulnerable populations, I don't think we're managing that as well as we should. I think we still have.
What are you talking about? People sleeping in doorways who are then vulnerable to attack by the obs.
No, I think it's you know, we have a very high concentration of services within the city, and particularly emergency accommodation. There's still you know, there's still efforts to convert buildings without planning permission into more emergency accommodation. That does, when you've got such high levels of vulnerable populations, and there are streets and districts in the city centre where we have over 2,000.
Where do you put those people then? If
Well, I think
if you don't want a concentration in Dublin city centre, and part of the reason people hang out in Dublin city, even if they were housed somewhere beyond, they come into Dublin city. Often it's for begging purposes. They go where the people are.
Yeah, but when you
I read as well recently that in Ireland, in its total, guys, we have 100,000 vacant properties. You know, another TD was talking about that, and there's 15,000 vacant properties in Dublin alone. Like, you could literally just solve the housing crisis overnight by taking some of those vacant properties, not taking property off rich people, but having the government buy these properties from the rich people and converting them for a very minimal amount of money. It's 4 walls and a roof, and then you're warm, you're heated, you know, you're cozy in your house. So
you've got such a high level of concentration, Pat. You've got people within the city who, you know, the streets are their backyard effectively. I think we need to be more imaginative in terms of the state lands that we have, in terms of utilising those. We've got, you know, people are coming from all around the country, and Dublin City Council has the responsibility to house them in the city. And like,
well, I mean, you can't convert bogland. Most of Ireland is shite bogland. Like, I mean, it's fine land, but like, you can't build houses on this stuff. There's a lot of the places that are built are already built. There is vast open land spaces, but the ground isn't good. You can't build on bog land and shite land like that, you know.
Like, if this was working for vulnerable people, we'd say fair enough, but it's not. And, you know, certainly speaking to people who are engaged in supporting people with drug addictions or homelessness, the feedback we have is that actually what we're doing is not beneficial for the vulnerable people nor wider society.
I'm
so
struggling to get a handle on what the alternative is.
Well, I think we can look at, you know, state lands and you know, developing those. I know there's been proposals around the likes of Thornton Hall, etc. And I think we need to be a bit more imaginative. We can't just take every location in Dublin city centre and put all of the country's problems into one small location and expect that, you know, everything's going to work out, because that is not the way the world works. But you know, I think there's definitely a whole of society requirement in this, and the business community, I think, can be part of the solution to resolving the
what
issues
do you
as
make
well.
of all of this?
I have to say, I agree with you, Pat. It doesn't matter where people are living. They all want to come into the city every night, okay, or during the day. There's a lot of work as well in the city. It's not just people coming in to beg. There's a lot of cash jobs available for people, whether it be on sites in the city or, you know, in kitchens. So
And these are people who might be homeless.
Yeah, people who are homeless, people who are living in IPAS accommodation. People are coming to Ireland because there is a lot of there is an economy there where people can work for cash jobs in the city.
When she says cash jobs, she's basically promoting avoiding taxes. I mean, that is that is illegal as hell. That's super illegal. If you don't have a PPS number, how you're not allowed to work? You're illegally working in Ireland. I don't understand. Like, how could a TD, or I don't know who she is, but Fianna Fáil, whatever, you know, they're all, you know, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. She's promoting illegal behaviour. Cash in hand jobs, that's illegal if you don't pay taxes on it, correct? Am I crazy here? I don't know. I mean, of course, some jobs like, lift this pack of eggs into the lorry there, you know, you pay a guy €100 for the day. But if it's anything more than that, €50 for the day, if it's anything more than that, like, you're not paying taxes on that money. So it's super illegal. Man, revenue is going to be coming down this lady hard, I think.
And that's where, as you say, the money is, whether it's begging. So it doesn't matter, I believe, where people are living in the outskirts of Dublin, that people will want to come into the city every day. And the short-term solution for you, Pat, if you want to have a drink or want to have a meal in town and for you to feel safe, is to have more guards on the street. And I believe Jim O'Callaghan is doing that. I know that it's his priority. He's stated that.
Well, how can guards, I'll just be honest with you, how can a guard with just pepper spray and a baton, how can he fight off a man with a knife, a crazed lunatic? That's what I got from the video. The guy was obviously off his head on some drugs or something. How is he going to be able to fight? How is one guard, female or male, how are they going to fight a guy with a knife? They need guns, guys. Like, you need to arm the police and be like, all right, if you see anyone with a gun or a knife, shoot them straight away on sight, especially if he just stabs somebody. You know, it's just crazy, man. I don't understand, like, how are you allowed knives in the city, man? It just boggles my mind.
He stated it's not his priority to open up as many emergency accommodation buildings as possible.
Do you think that the nature of our policing, I know they've got their baseball caps now and they look a little bit more like they might be able to pursue someone down the road compared to when they were wearing a serge overcoat and a cap and boots, as it, now they look as if a hot pursuit was needed. But then you've got scooters hopping around the place. I mean, is it time to ban the scooters from the centre of the city? Because the ne'er-do-wells can hop on a scooter, an electric scooter, and be gone.
Absolutely. We have to look at more serious legislation when it comes to scooters. I see it in my own area around, Crumlin and Walkinstown, especially young kids seem to have these really state-of-the-art scooters and they are driving around. Some say they are delivering drugs for people. Some say they're just young lads on scooters. But, there seems to be an issue. And it's also really dangerous because you don't see, if you're a driver on the road, you don't see a scooter coming to you. So I don't know if scooters are the big issue here. I just think...
No, but I mean, it's going to be, as Richard was even...
I thought scooters were illegal anyway. They banned them in the West. I thought they banned them everywhere.
Pointing out, there's a whole plethora of solutions. Yeah. Some of them are more long-term than others. But there are things you can do in the short term. And it's not that scooters are going to change the world, banning scooters, high-speed scooters in town. And we have ridiculous...
People are getting stabbed with knives. There's gangs running wild, brandishing people. And then they're talking about banning scooters. Like, oh, lads, we're cooked. We're just finished. This country's just... We're finished.
Rules where it's impossible to identify the person who's effectively on a motorbike. You can't identify it.
And I also think Richard's right in terms of the long term, like sort of the streetscaping of our city to ensure that that's, laid out properly. That's really, really important because when you have a really nice streetscape, people are less likely they don't have places to hide and they treat their city with a little bit more respect and you get more people coming in. So there's a lot of long-term solutions. But I think ultimately, what Richard is even saying is we need to see a lot of urgency with this task force. Like we need to ensure that it starts
one of the
tomorrow and it's implemented.
We talk about all the time is having people on the street and people living in the centre of the city, which tends to make the city safer because there are eyes everywhere and that might not be the case currently because very few people, relatively speaking, live in the centre of the city. But I saw something in one of the papers over the weekend suggesting that the building regulations are not fit for purpose. You've got a lot of stuff over the shop and other stuff that's available that in semi-dereliction. And in order to qualify for the building regulations, it's just too expensive and in many cases not doable. And the suggestion from this head of the architects was that you've got to have a set of building regulations for new builds, A-rated and all the rest, and another set of regulations for refurbing, which would be
That's what I'm saying. Cut all the red tape, get rid of all the regulations around housing, completely just build loads of houses. We can deal with the regulations later on, guys, once people are housed. People are dying on the street. Less regulation, the better.
achievable, because at the moment many of the refurbs are simply not possible.
That's very true. I mean, that is the feedback, and certainly people who've engaged in conversions over the shop have told us that they wouldn't be inclined to do it again. So we do need to resolve some of those issues, and they're quite resolvable. It's done on the continent, integrated smoke and sprinkler systems and that kind of thing. And there is derelict space, and again, this is in the task force report about converting some of that into residential use. It definitely would assist if we had more residents living in the city. There are going to be challenges on that. We can have the discussion at a later point, but there's definitely opportunities for having more people living in the city, and particularly living over the shop. I've been in premises where you've got 2 or 3 floors that have never seen a footstep. And it's such a waste. You've got floor spaces of 1,000 square foot.
So two things:
Crazy.
make it doable, and also it helps resolve the housing crisis.
Yep.
Some of the comments coming in from Kieran. Sadly, it's deja vu with your discussion around the weekend Dublin 2 killing. Are there lessons to be learned? Streets need more Gardaí, stiffer sentences, etc., etc. We heard all the same sound bites, but before, particularly, and after the Dublin riots. I worked in Dublin city centre for nearly 40 years, always careful, but never afraid. Nowadays, I am afraid. So stop the meaningless waffle and make our streets safe again. That's from Kieran.
That's Kieran as a loyal patriot as well. One of us.
This kind of behaviour has been going on for ages. It's not getting better and will only get worse. Every time something happens, the politicians say how terrible it is. The Gardaí say the same thing. Unfortunately, nothing ever changes. Cheap talk after serious incidents. Then nothing said when things blow over. That's from Simon in Kildare. I avoid...
That's a good point, guys. Nothing really does get much done, unfortunately.
Dublin like the plague. Will only go there for essential work or medical appointment reasons. Would never go on a night out in Dublin. Our government policies over time have led to this. They are mostly responsible, says Dave in Galway. We need visible armed forces on the streets with a response time of less than 3 minutes, in line with European capital cities.
Oh, yeah.
We need to fight fire with fire.
Yeah, 100%. Whoever that guy is a legend.
The quick fix here is take the...
100%. You need to have, if you guys ever go to New York City, or if you guys go to Germany, there's guys running around, just guards with, MP5s, assault rifle. You have rifles, you're flipping guys with semi-automatic. You have all these guns and shit. This is for the guys, I'm telling them. If you're a masking guy and a guard, you should have a gun, 100%. And everywhere. There should be guards everywhere in the Dublin city. I don't know why, with guns, a guy with a knife, you're not gonna be able to curtail that guy. You're not gonna be able to arrest him. You need a gun. This is crazy. If you go to any city outside of Ireland, they all have guns, the police, and they're ready to, shoot you if you do anything crazy, right?
The bad guys off the streets, then you can fix the other root causes. I'm tired of reading and hearing about repeat offenders roaming the streets, committing even more crimes.
And this guy's on the loose. The guy that stabbed the woman in Galway, still on the loose. So we have all these guys running around that stab people and they're still on the loose. It's just insane.
Protect the innocent and vulnerable and the tourists. More debate about Dublin. Lots of Gardaí in the city for concerts and matches, but not on a daily basis. Let ministers walk the quays up to the matter and see the dangers the rest of us have to face. Dublin City in decline since lockdown. We feel safer in other European cities. Why? It's so threatening here. Workers and shoppers have a right to feel safe in our city. Time for zero tolerance. Nothing done since the November riots. That's from Maria Rahimi. A number of points there. People on bail, multiple offenders, and when they finally get a sentence, it's revealed after the court case that
it's some people have 60 offences, 20 offences, and they're still just not even gone in jail. What the hell?
they are recidivists, and yet they're out on the street in jig time.
Yeah, and I know we have an issue in terms of spaces in prisons, and I think we really need to look at Thornfield Hall, isn't it? Thornton Hall,
which is now housing tents for asylum seekers.
Yeah, well,
but I mean, it's open field still.
It's open field, so we need to look at increasing our capacity in prisons, because we see far too often hear people committing offences while they're out on bail, and when they should be they shouldn't be out in the first place.
Because a lot of crimes are committed when people are out on bail.
Jim O'Callaghan is 1 month in the job. We haven't had a Fianna Fáil Justice Minister for 14 years, and I agree. In that time, we haven't seen our city improve from a criminality point of view. I really think that Jim, with his experience and with his determination, he has been their justice spokesperson in our party.
We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
Insane, guys. We're going to leave it right there. Yeah, absolute nonsense from everybody there. Just complete propaganda. Wash. Brainwash. Awash. Insane. Okay. Hope you all enjoyed that. Hope you got something out of it. I mean, they need to do something, guys, because it's just going to keep getting worse, in my opinion. It'll just keep getting worse, and then Lord knows what's going to happen. So I love you all. I can't do it without you guys. So if you want to become a member of the channel, donate to the channel, check out my merch, check out my Patreon. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I can't do it without you all watching and supporting. So stay tuned every single day. New video on politics or the main news stories every single day. I love you guys all. Stay free, and I'll see you all in the next one, lads. Peace.